Okay, as you can probably tell, this is the box of a LED projector. Now it is a Unix UC46. There is a UC40, which is a little cheaper model, and then there's a UC50. This is the UC46. Now it costs around about £65 in the UK. It's about £63. I can't remember off the top of my head how much it is in dollars, but I will put that on as a text overlay on the video and in the description. I think it's around $75 or $85. So in both the UK it is under £100, and in the US it is under $100. So it's a budget projector, and it's probably the best. It's not perfect, it's not going to replace your LED TV, but it is a good budget projector for under $100 or pounds. It does have Wi-Fi to some extent. I will go into that later. I'm going to show you what the specs are in a minute. Then I'm going to briefly show you the box itself, the actual projector, and what buttons it has on it and what comes in the box. Then I'll show you it projecting. But anyway, let's begin. This is the front of the box. It says Wi-Fi ready. It's a small size, which is good. It's not one of some projectors are quite huge. This isn't huge. This is a decent size. It's not too big. It is fairly portable. It's not one of those little teeny handheld size ones. You can get some that are as small as a kind of a portable still camera or whatever. This isn't going to be one of those ones that will fit in your hand. It is bigger than that, but it is still very, very portable and not too heavy as well. It is 16:9 WVGA. So this will do up to 1080p HD, which is full HD. However, if you don't know much about projectors, I'll have to just briefly tell you that when a projector you're looking at on, say, Amazon says it supports 1080p, that probably means it's not actually 1080p, because there is a native size that the hardware and lens etc can do, and then there is how much it can sort of support, kind of almost like emulated in software, whatever, you know, it's kind of what its input is. So you can plug in, say, a games console or an Apple TV box into this using the HDMI, and it might be 1080p and it will work, but it's not, you're not going to get that actual 1080p quality. And you won't for this price. You are not going to get a projector which is 1080p, native 1080p, for under $500. In fact, I think the cheapest, I could be wrong, but I think the cheapest 1080p native projector is about £499, $499. And even if you want one that does native 720p HD, which is around about, they tend to be about around about 1280 by 800 resolution, those are going to cost probably at least £150, and I think you're going to pay more like 200, 250 for it. So for under £100, under $100, you're not going to get that kind of resolution. So this is WVGA, which is about, I think, 800 by 480 pixels. It is powered by AC power, and it does have its own AC power cord, and I presume you would get the right cable for your country depending upon what you get in it. I've got it here in the UK, so I have a 3-prong plug for a UK power system that I think if you bought this on Amazon.com in the US, presumably you get your right cord. I should think so, you normally do. It also says rich interfaces, supports Android and iOS, and it is an LED projector. So the light it uses, the lamp, etc., is LED. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, there's one huge benefit. LED lights have a longer lifespan. So with projectors, you tend to have to replace the bulb a lot, but with an LED bulb, you're going to have to replace that light a lot less often. In fact, I think I'll have to flip this over in a minute and tell you the specs properly, but I think the bulb lasts around 20,000 hours. Anyway, let's turn it over. Okay, I'm not sure how well you can read this because I'm having a stand behind the camera and the camera's in front of the box, so I can hardly see it myself. So I'll read it out to you. Okay, image system is LCD. Its brightness about 1200 lumens, its contrast is 800 to 1, its native resolution is 800 by 480 pixels, its highest resolution is 1080p, like I said. I've explained the difference there. Its lamp is LED. Its lamp lifespan is around 20,000 hours. Its lens, it has a focal length of 125. Its operation is manual. Its projection distance is, now this is the issue I have with it, although like I say, remember this is a budget projector. Its focal distance is 1.07 meters to 3.8 meters. So if you want, say its full size, if you want the screen projected to be about 130 inches, which is huge, then you set the projector about 4 meters away from the wall, and that it's absolutely fine. But for the average person, you're going to want, what, 40, 50, 60 inches? And if you do, you have to make the screen smaller. You can't adjust it with any dials, any knobs, etc. You have to physically move the projector closer to the wall. And so to get a screen size of, say, around 50 inches, 40 inches, you have to have the device practically right up to the wall. So that is a little fiddly if you're in quite a small room to get a decent screen size. If you want a full 100 or 130 inch screen size, this is absolutely perfect. You have it about 4 meters away, works great, absolutely no problem. But if you want a smaller sizes, it can be a little tricky to get the distance right. So anyway, that is something to bear in mind. And what are the sizes you can make the screen anyway? Well, screen size is from 34-inch screen size to 130 inches. So if you want about a 34-inch screen size or a 40-inch screen size, you can. But the smallest you can get and have it clear is 34 inches, and the biggest you can go is a whopping 130 inches, which is huge. And most people, even if they are, say, maybe even doing a business presentation, probably ain't going to need 130 inches. They're probably going to want something more like 60 or 70. So it does get really huge. Aspect ratio is 4:3 or widescreen 16:9. And it does have good colors. It has 16.7 million colors. Its keystone is manual. So what that is for you people who are new to projectors is you can, if you don't have the device set perfectly straight, etc., you might get a tapered type of image. So you might have a long straight top to your picture, to your screen, but then it might taper down as it gets towards the bottom. Well, with the keystone knob that's next to the focal knob, you can adjust the keystone to try to get a more square image. Power supply is 100 to 240 volt. It's 50 or 60 hertz. Its power is 55 watt max. Its input, you have input for USB. You can plug a USB thumbstick in, or an SD card. It has an SD card reader that isn't just SD or SDHC. It does support up to 64 gigabyte SDXC cards, which is good. I thought this being a budget projector, it might only support SD cards, but it does support up to SDXC 64 gigabytes. So you can put a fairly decent sized card into the card slot. It also has a HDMI in. It has VGA, which is more for monitors and computers. So you can plug your computer into it, although most computers these days also have HDMI, so you might not need that. I don't think I would. It has IR, infrared, for the remote control. It has a output for earphones, so it has a 3.5mm audio jack, and that is so you can either plug in a pair of headphones which use your regular small 3.5mm plug, or you can plug speakers into it. And if you're going to get a budget projector, I recommend you have some external speakers to plug into it that use 3.5mm port. Its system uses its own software called UNIC OS, because this is the UNIC, which is UNIC, UNIC UC46. Languages, supports up to 23 different languages. Its dimensions are pretty small. It's 201 millimeters by 153 millimeters by 67 millimeters, and it weighs 1 kilo. Its wireless is Wi-Fi 2.4G. Now, there's two things I want to quickly mention here. One, this is 802.11G, not N or AC. Now I don't expect AC because that is new and more expensive, although of course in an ideal world it would, but I did expect it to at least have N, which is 802.11n, which is what older devices used to use. And in fact, some new devices such as the PlayStation 4 still only use N, not AC. So I really think you could have got away with having N in this. That is a bit disappointing. I really think it should have had 2.4N or whatever. So that is something to bear in mind. It has a slower type of Wi-Fi. It isn't the latest. It isn't even N, let alone the latest AC standard. Also, you don't log into your Wi-Fi. You don't log in to your, say, Joe Bloggs Wi-Fi, then put in your Wi-Fi password. You use DLNA, which is something mostly on smartphones, although you can probably get software on your Mac or PC for it using DLNA. So when it comes to things like software updating the system on it, you can't do it via Wi-Fi. You have to put the software onto a thumbstick USB, plug that in and select it from the menu. And I can't find a website. I cannot find a unique product website with any firmware or software updates. So even though there's the option on the menu, I don't know where you'd find any updates for it. If I find out, I'll put a link in the description along with this video on YouTube. So what can its player, if you want to play a file off of your USB, SD or through Wi-Fi, what does its software support? What sort of formats does it play back? Well, it supports quite a few. It supports 3GP, H.263 or MPEG-4, AVIs which are either XVID, DivX or H.264. It even play MKVs, which not all software does, like QuickTime Player X on Mac doesn't even support MKV playback, but this does. And it will support MKVs, which are XVID, DivX, H.264, etc. It will even play Flash videos, which are FLVs. It will play QuickTime.MOVs using H.264, or MP4s using MPEG-4 or AVC. It will support MPGs, which are MPEG-1s. It will support VOBs, which are VOBs, which are basically the files off of DVDs if you rip a DVD. And supports RMV, which I think is Real Media Video. And audio formats, it supports playing, if you want to just play some music or whatever, it will support MP3s or WMAs or ASF or OGG, which is OGG, or AAC or WAV files, WAV. So it has quite a large format support here, which is really good. Bear in mind, it won't support some of those latest formats such as H.265. It will do H.264, which should be good enough for most uses, but it doesn't do the new codec of H.265, also known as HEVC. It will also play PNGs and JPEGs if you want to just do a slideshow or whatever. And it does support a text document if you want to read a document. It does support plain text documents, TXT. It would be good if it had supported PDFs. That would have been useful for anybody that does want to read using the projector, or maybe doing a business presentation, needed to get some text file up for whatever reason. Bear in mind that it's USBs are USB 2.0s, not 3, but it shouldn't matter for this type of use. Okay, here it is. Now bear in mind I'm using a broken tripod, so I'm not getting the best camera angles on this, unfortunately. I still need a new tripod, which is a bit annoying. But this is it looking at it from the front. As you might be able to see, you won't be able to see the lens obvious here because I've left the rubber cap on, and here it is here. This is a rubber cap that just pops on and you sort of push it down so you can protect your lens when you're not using it from even dust and certainly from scratches, which is really good. So you can, and it does come free with it in the box, it's not an extra. Okay, there's the lens, and here is the focal and the keystone ring. So you just slide that, and there you see the lens slides in and out. Then you do the other one behind it to adjust the keystone. Then back here is some buttons, and I'll just move it around to show you. I'm not sure how well you can see the buttons, probably not very well. Well, me zooming right in, and like I say, I can't position the tripod very well. But there are buttons here. If you're looking at it from behind, now bear in mind the lens is no longer here, it's on the opposite side back here. You're looking at it from behind, you have buttons on the right bottom corner for power, so you hold that down, turn it on. Then you have a menu button underneath that. Then you have a kind of display button, which is where you select, do you want to use HDMI, do you want to use a file for USB, etc. Then to the left of those buttons, which are all on top of each other, there's a little keypad there with up, down, left, right and OK, so you can scroll menu options. Then to the left of that is a play and pause button. Then to the left of that is one more button, which is the return button, the back button. Here, looking at it from the back as well, is it, you probably can't see it on camera, but there is a little infrared pickup receiver there, a little infrared receiver for the remote. Okay, the controller here, I'm not sure where you can see it, has a power button, a mute button, a menu button, an input button to select like HDMI, USB, play, pause, rewind, fast forward buttons, up, down, OK, left, right, escape, turn, pick, info, zoom, repeat, and volume up and volume down. Now, so what do you get in the box? You get the projector, of course, you get the power cable, you get the remote control, batteries not included. It doesn't come with any AAA batteries like a lot of products would if they have a controller. So bear that in mind, you will need to either already have some or get some ready before this arrives. So you have the power cord, the battery, a basic manual. It doesn't explain too much, like it doesn't explain that you need to physically move the projector closer to get a smaller screen, but you do. And then it has one of those video cables there. That is all that comes in the box. There's no HDMI cable, but before you sort of think that's a bad point, bear in mind that most products these days, it seems like, don't come with HDMI cables. The Apple TV box, 3rd and 4th generation, don't come with HDMI cables. They expect that you probably either already have one that you've got to use on it, or you're going to want to buy a bit more of a proper expensive cable, or at least, if not a more expensive HDMI, at least a longer one, etc., than what they would include. So a lot don't bother including it in the box. Same with this, so that isn't a bad point to this. That's just pretty much standard procedure, it seems like, when you're talking about HDMI cables. Okay, the only thing I haven't mentioned so far, I'll just sort of project it in just 1 second, but before I do, the one thing I haven't mentioned is there's a little screw on the bottom that you can unscrew, and it comes out like a little leg, like one little tripod leg or a monopod leg, and that will prop your projector up if you need it. It'll prop the front of the projector up and lift it up a little bit, and you can unscrew it just a little bit, just for a little bit of a lift, or a medium amount for a medium sort of amount of lift, or nearly right out, which is a decent length little leg. Okay, I'm not sure how well you can see that. See that little bit poking out there? That is the leg to raise the front of the monitor up a bit if you need to project it a bit at a different angle, a bit upwards. That, as you can see, just you just turn it and it turns out. Then that comes out to give you a bit of a leg to lift the image up, the projector up a bit. Or you can screw it back in a little bit more, have it out a little bit more, or have it right in and not use it at all. Okay, you have to excuse the shaky image, and it might be a little bit tilted to one side, the image. It's not it's my camera, but the tripod is broken, so I'm actually having to hold it steady, which nearly defeats the purpose of having a tripod, just not quite. That is it. At about just over a metre away from the wall, you can actually see in the bottom left corner the projector. In the bottom left corner you can see the projector. I hope it's focused properly. I'm having a manual focus and hold the camera steady. There it is. Now I'll play a video in a minute. But just before I do, let me just show you the menu. I'm having to do this with one hand. Okay, you have options for picture mode, such as movie, picture, various presets. Color temperature medium, aspect ratio auto, noise reduction on or off, music mode is a standard, various volume and balancing options there. Also you have surround sound, SRS true surround, which is basically to emulate surround sound, and EQ settings, and then here you have things for clock and timer. You have things for internal speaker off if you're using external speakers and you don't want to use internal one, super color on or off, and that's about it. Now super color you may want to turn off because some people find it a little bit too vivid. Now one thing I will say here a minute is, one, this might not be a very good representation of the picture quality. In fact it isn't, because I'm still waiting for a projector screen to come, so I'm projecting onto a wall that is kind of purplish and a bit textured, so it's a bit of a gradient. It's a bit of a sort of grainy texture, so it will look a little bit blurry. That isn't the actual picture quality, it's not blurry like that. It's because I'm on a normal wall, not a flat white surface like a projector screen. But I have some projector screens coming to me to review, So I'll put, once I have them and made them, it might be a little while, but when I do, I'll put a link to that review in the description along with this video on YouTube, so you can see it a bit better, this projector. I'll use this projector so you can see it a bit better for yourself on a proper projector screen, but at the moment this isn't representative of the quality. And also I've got a broken tripod at home and hold it steady as well. But it'll give you a bit of an idea. It's about a metre away from the wall. The screen size is about, it's 30-inch screen size, the smaller screen size. It is a little bit skewed because I'm having to balance it on some books because I haven't got a proper setup here. But I will review a screen. Soon, projector screen soon, and then you'll be able to see it a bit better. But like I say, as soon as I can, I'll put a link in the description to a proper review showing its image quality. Okay, I'll play a video now. What you do, this might be a bit shaky while I do this with one hand, but you go to input on the remote or on the box, select SD if you're playing from SD card, or HDMI if you're playing from HDMI, and then select what you're using, such as in this case SD. It will then go back to the main menu. Then you can select if you want to use a picture, text, music or movie. I'm going to select movie. Then select the card, then scroll over to the one I want. Then hit play. Don't hit select, hit play on the controller. Okay, I have a really cool program here to review this time. And the main reason it's cool is not so much what it is, but it is because it's completely free. Okay, I have a really cool program here to review this time. And the main reason it's cool is not so much what it is, but it is because it's completely free. I'll just briefly tell you what it is, and then we'll look at the features and I'll show you the menus, etc. And then at the end I'll give you my opinion on it. Okay, so it's called Writer. It's a free minimalistic screenwriting program for Mac. It is very similar to Slugline and Highland, and if you don't know what they are on the Mac App Store. Both of those other ones cost money though. I think they both cost. Okay, back to main menu. There's two things I'd like to point out here. One, I'm not on a few things to point out here. One, I'm not on a projector, it's a flat white projector screen. It's on a kind of like lilac wall with a bit of a grainy texture, so it makes it look a little bit blurred when it's not. The speakers are not really any good. They're very, very hollow sounding, so you will need to plug in speakers into your 3.5mm audio jack on the side of the box. 3 I didn't mention earlier, but there is a USB port which I did mention, but there's also next to that a second USB port which is 5V. So if you have something like a external hard drive you want to plug in that needs to be powered by a second USB, you can do that. You can plug in one port into the USB port, which is how it sees what files is on the device, then plug the other USB into the other USB port which says 5V, and it will power the external hard drive, which is really handy. The other thing I'd like to point out is you will want to have your room very well ventilated. The projector gets very, very hot. It makes a room, if you have all your windows and doors closed, very hot and stuffy with hardly any air, you know, really, really humid and hot. So you will want to keep your room very well ventilated. Okay, so I have the lights off at the moment. I did have them on at the beginning of this review. So when you play from a USB or SD or whatever, you go to input, select the device, then it will take you back to the main menu here, which kind of looks a bit like Metro, a bit Windows 10 or whatever-ish. Then you select the type of file you're going to want to play. Is it a plain text file, is it a photo, music or movie? Then when you hit that, it will then show you the list of what's on that device, such as the SD card. Then you select the file you want. Then if you hit play the first time, it will come up with it in a little box with loads of information like the resolution, etc. You have to then hit it, you know, it's kind of like a preview basically. Then you hit the play button again to get it full screen proper playback. Like I said, bear in mind the internal speakers are not particularly usable. They are just really a bonus. You will need to plug in, even if it is a relatively cheap pair of 3.5mm speakers, you will need to plug in some external speakers. It is fairly noisy, the fan. If you have a good pair of external speakers plugged in and watching a movie or whatever, it's not going to really disrupt you too much, but just know there is a decent amount of fan noise there. Well, what do I think of it? Well, this is not or going to replace your LED TV in your living room. This is not to replace your main TV. This is really more to be used for maybe for presentation. So say you're a salesman, a businessman or whatever, this is a good portable projector that is nice and cheap. It's probably the best projector you're going to get for under $100, £100, and it's good quality, but it's not going to be your main monitor for your gaming PC or your main TV for your main room. It's really a secondary item for perhaps taking on holiday. Maybe you want to take it on holiday, maybe you're staying somewhere which doesn't have a good TV or any TV, maybe you're staying in I don't know, but basically if you're staying in somewhere on holiday and you want to take a monitor with you, you don't want to take a big, huge, bulky 30-inch, 40-inch, 60-inch TV with you on holiday. You can pack up this projector, it packs up fairly small and compact, and you can take that with you. Then you have a way to watch movies, maybe play a few games on a decent sized screen, nice and portable. So basically I recommend this not as a replacement for your LED TV or even your monitor on your gaming PC, but as more for presentations if you're a salesman, businessman or student, or if you are wanting a good size screen portable to take on holiday. So it does cost around £63 in the UK. It's under $100 as well in the US. You can get it from Amazon. I will put a link in the description on this video on YouTube, so you can go directly to the Amazon page to check it out. It's branded Unix, UNIC, but the people that sent this to me to review are the lot that did the aromatherapy product I reviewed recently, which is UV Star, and so I'll put both in the title and description so you know. But basically this product, even though it's being sold by somebody else, is the Unix UC46 model. If you have any questions, if there's anything about the specs or anything like that I haven't mentioned, then just add it to a comment either on the Amazon review or on the YouTube video. Add it as a comment and I'll try to get back to you. I'll try to find out and get back to you. Please like and comment on this video, and if you could do me a huge favour and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it only takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Thanks.